Y'all notice something different?
Hey, hey, hey.
The other two had to be deported, so we got Adrian back on here. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. This time, neither Mike or Arnie will be live at this moment. That doesn't mean that they won't show up later on, but we will see. But I ended up bringing back one of the OGs. And how's your weekend been there, Adrian?
Oh, magnificent. And it's good to be back. Thanks for having me on.
There you go. So before we get everything started with what we got to offer for tonight's episode, I did put on my little community tab. We have a huge announcement happening. I was gonna wait till the end, but I have zero patience. Plus, I'm bipolar. Anyway, so the podcast will now revert back to a 2-day week where the meat and potatoes of the podcast will be occurring on Sunday night at 8 Eastern Standard Time, 5 Pacific on A League of Her Own's channel. Okay. And if one of the mods, can y'all please drop Adrian's channel link in the chat? So for those that who have not been on there, they'll know they're gonna learn today. And then on Mondays with Mike and Arnie, we're gonna have very similar to the after hours, but after hours it sounds just too soft rated. So Adrian came up with the name and I kind of like it. So we're going to call it the Baseball Card Junkies Extra Innings. Okay, so it kind of has a nice little vibe and ring to it. But enough of me blabbing my mouth. Let's take a quick roll call. So we've got White Sox Tom, who's always here like 3 hours early. And we got Sean. We got Jason from Canadian Car Breakers. Nikki Two-Time. We got the GOAT, Brandon. He must be off today. We got Alan Forrest. We have, who else we got here? We got Big John Collector's Cards. We got Lockin, Mark C. Welcome in, folks. Make sure y'all hit that like button and take your shoes off at the front door. You know, I greatly appreciate it. So enough of me running my mouth. Let's go ahead and get into what we actually all came here for. All right. So first thing that is coming up in the shoot, upcoming releases. And I know we've been beating this to the death, but we actually got prices now. So 2025 Bowman Baseball. So we're looking at a blaster box on David Adams for $40. Okay. Then you got your HTA choice, which, if I'm not mistaken, that is probably going to be the jumbo box. You're looking at $619. A hobby box at $325. And then, okay, so no, the jumbo is $624. So this must be the Breaker's Delight at $619. So what you think about these prices there, Adrian?
Well, a little bit higher than what they were on Tops a little while ago for the pre-order, but that's to be expected. That HTA choice, I just watched a video on another channel breaking down Bowman's Baseball. Looks like they've kind of combined. HTA used to be a 3-card just autograph box, and Breaker's Delight had, some autos, some parallels and things like that. It sounds like they've kind of combined the two. You're gonna get your 3 autos. You're gonna get some chromes, some parallels, and that's the route they're going with that this year. Dom's in the house. What is going on?
What's up, Dom?
Retro show.
Yeah. So yeah, White Sox Tom did mention that you could get these blasters for $10 cheaper on Fanatics, and I know Tops has them too at those prices.
Oh yeah, I did hear they were on Top still too. So
yes,
that's
I guess you could call that a plus. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the next upcoming release, and nobody's really big on it, I for sure am not, is we got 2024 Panini National Treasures Baseball Hobby for a low price of $849.95. Okay. Now, the product highlights, you got 8 autos or mem cards per box. Not sure how everybody feels about that. Give me one or the other guaranteed. Don't just pick and choose for me. But basically, the breakdown is 1 pack per box with 10 cards per pack. I mean, do we
Pretty
really
much.
get into this? It's Panini, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, pretty much the standard for Panini. I mean, at that price point, I know it's got the good rookie class. Everybody still skeins and things of that nature, but this is just because the price point's way out there for me. This is something I'll enjoy watching on YouTube. Other people rip in here and there for a little bit.
Yeah,
that's cool right there. That one you just showed skeins with the Nike. That's cool.
And you got Judge, who has not been a rookie for the last 8 years.
Yeah, but man, to get a Judge auto, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
it's cool. I know, like, the no logos has always been an issue for some. They're cool looking cards, but man,
not for that price point.
I know. Shoot,
that price point is what literally turns everybody away. So you're gonna have to do something about that. All right, now as far as reviews are concerned, Topps Heritage, what are our thoughts? I mean, me personally, I'm not gonna go through every Walmart, every Target in my state to look for it. There's just it doesn't have that yet.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I'm 50-50 on Heritage. It's a cool looking set. It's fun to open, but when you're watching like rips of this, Heritage is one of those sneaky ones where they're like, oh, we got all these parallels and inserts and things for you to look for. And most of the time, not all the time, you'll find like a flip bat variation or a missing auto. And it's of not really the more popular players. It's really hard to find that, like the Dylan Cruz and Jack. I was going to say Jackson Cheerio. Now I'm getting 2024 and 25 mixed up. Bear with me here. So it's I feel, if you want to open something and you like Heritage, you like to do the set collecting thing, the price did come down on this a little bit compared to 2024. You like to rip, open it up, have fun with it.
Speaking of prices, so a blaster box, we're looking at $30, okay, which is average. $140 for a hobby box, slightly above normal. Then you got your mega for $60. Now, I am seeing a lot of videos where people are doing format breaks. So they're trying to tell you what's the best bang for your buck. To be quite honest, if it's not coming from a reliable source, I'm not going to mention Striker's name, but there's somebody who always does it with Flagship. If it's not coming from that source, it's irrelevant to me, because not only is he doing, exclusive variations per format, the obvious that people look for, your relics, your autos, and things like that. He's giving you a breakdown of cost per dollar. I mean, cost per card. And what would be the best format for the best bang for your buck. I was watching another channel, which I'm not going to mention, and he was going off on a tangent about this will be the last time he's going to get any mega boxes because you don't find value in it. I mean, what you may consider value may be different than what somebody else will. If you're looking for something to put on eBay and bring home 3, maybe 4 digits, then yeah, mega box is not for you. Okay, but if you're looking to chase that rainbow of your favorite player, you're gonna go above and beyond and reach out to blasters, hobbies, megas, fat packs, eBay singles, you name it. I mean, there's really no boundaries.
Yeah, eBay singles is kind of my way to go these days. So I don't want to. If you want to rip something and you're into Heritage, I'll go for it. If you're someone that's likes to rip maybe a hobby box or two and like hope you get a couple cards to sell on eBay to kind of make up for the cost kind of thing, it's tough. It's really tough. It can be done by all means. And don't get me wrong, open a hobby box, try to get an auto. It's fun. It is fun, but my collecting has drawn me towards just finding the singles. Like Boba Fett's an SP. He's one of the high number SPs in this. So I just assume just buy one of those cards on eBay for.
Now, did they give him a short print because now he's a little shorter up top? You know, he cut the hair.
Yeah, maybe so.
All right. Well, again, I mean, I'm not knocking Heritage. It's a fun thing to rip into. It's fun to collect. It's fun to put together. Is it something that I'm gonna skip a mortgage payment on? Probably not.
No,
that's just me.
Nah.
All right, so those are everything regarding what's coming up in the shoot, what's already out there, and everybody's gobbling up. So that'll be that. Now, let's get into some actual hobby news. And this one, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. We actually spoke about it real briefly backstage.
Mm-hmm.
So we had an auction that occurred not too long ago. Okay. And somebody ended up spending damn near $2 million on a T206 Wagner card. Okay. You think that's a pretty good deal. However, look at what's written on the slab. Before we get into any further type of discussion about it, a couple of things I do want to point out. Okay, and it's actually listed in this article. So a SGC2, if I'm not, an SGC2, it set the record for 2 months because it sold for $7.5 million. Authentic, unaltered, non-doctored. Okay. Then you have a PSA 1.5 that sold for $3.7 million on Golden October of 2022. What does this Kurtz remixed, restored, authentic card tell you compared to those other cards? I mean, the first thing again, in my opinion, this one just devalues and it basically washes out all the authentics. I mean, am I wrong for thinking that?
No, I don't think you're wrong for thinking that. This obviously should go for less, but at the same time, it's a Honus Wagner card. They're super rare. I can see restoring it to preserve it. I don't know exactly what restored means in this sense, but I mean, and also I can't fathom spending. I don't even know what it would be like to have millions of dollars. I can't imagine spending millions of dollars on baseball cards.
Right.
But if you've got the money, you're trying to preserve a piece of history, and this is the only Honus Wagner you can get your hands on. I'm not gonna knock you too much. Would you prefer one that's not restored? Heck yeah, but this was the one that was on the market, so what are you gonna do?
I mean, I agree. I mean, for all the vintage collectors that's out there, I did see Orlando. Would you prefer a restored authentic card of Wagner versus a copy of a Wagner at a authentic that has been chewed on, for a lack of better terms?
I think it brings character to the card.
I mean, because honestly, I get it with vintage. People look for clarity of the photo, the vibrance of the colors, as close to centering as possible. But I mean, there is a limit. There we go. See, give me a non-restored. It makes sense. Why go for something that Kurt got his hands on versus something that you find at an attic somewhere and it's been smushed and stepped on and all that. That, like you said, it builds character. Basically, you're giving a Wagner after restoration a demotion, if you will. That's how I'm gonna look at it. But whoever picked it up, congratulations.
Yeah.
And yeah,
for sure.
But now this story actually it was pretty cool. You know, I like to hear stories or read about stuff where a member of a family, you know, going back generations, they start up like a hobby, whether it's collecting cards or, you know, collecting little trinkets and stuff like that, and it gets passed on from generation to generation. And then here we are, you know, in our infancy, like, okay, we got all this crap, what the hell we're gonna do with it now? You
Yeah.
know, in this case, somebody has had a Babe Ruth rookie card in their family, you know, for even before the 90s. So basically,
4
how
generations, I believe. Yeah.
yeah, you know, so it actually sold at auction for 355,000 at Sotheby's, whatever that is. Never heard of it. But anyway, that's besides the point. So this card has been in the family minimum about 40 years because it was passed down to her son before her death in the 90s. So it really doesn't specify the dates as to
Mhm.
when it was actually obtained, but just
Mhm.
the fact that you've got something of this level of history, you know, and you're passing it on, you know, it's like if I was to give my mantle couple to my daughter, she's gonna look at me like, Dad, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? Obviously, you have no clue on what you have in your possession
Yeah.
right now, you know,
Yeah.
and this would be those kind of situations where, you know, you would actually sit them down and not so much try to persuade them to get into the hobby, but kind of give them a little history lesson behind it. Maybe that would intrigue them to actually get into it. I don't know. I mean, how would you feel if your dad just came out of left field? And I know your sister's in the chat too. If your
Mhm.
dad just squat down and gave birth to half the monster, and I know you know what the monster is.
Mhm. Well, first of all, my sister would be mad because I get it instead of her.
Okay.
And but I do think she would agree, like, that I don't know, we both love baseball so much, we would be keeping that in the family, and I just can't fathom that right there, that Babe Ruth rookie card. I remember seeing an episode of Pawn Stars where somebody brought one in. It ended up being fake, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
I can't fathom coming across that card. And that card was to me, that was a great condition. I can't even. The whole story blows my mind that there's like little hidden Easter eggs like that out in the world still. So I,
It's awesome.
the sad part to me is the families. I guess sometimes these things have you got to do. That's a lot of money. It was sad to me that they finally had like decided to sell it,
Mm-hmm.
but who knows? Sometimes
Yep.
like
And
that
Alex
ain't
is
no chump
how
change
she
there.
really feels.
What's up,
So,
Sess?
but yeah, I mean, it's a cool idea on passing something on down like that to the family, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And to be quite honest, once you pass it on to them and you just move on to the upper room, if you will, you can't get
Mhm.
mad on what they do with it after. So
That's 100% true. That's why it's important before you pass it on. Maybe really try to explain like what you got here and why it's so valuable. So,
yeah,
man.
yeah. So that was a little bit of positivity within the hobby. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and start breaking some hearts because that's what we do here. All right, so we got this from Sports Cards News, and if y'all haven't heard of who Veriswap is, it is another hobby platform where they pretty much promote nothing but they focus more on trading cards versus taking the eBay approach as far as auctions or sales or anything like that. Okay, they built the platform for collectors or flippers, if you will, depending on how you feel in that day, to do transactions on it. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Adrian, you did a couple of transactions on Veriswap.
Yeah, I used to be big on Veriswap. I put at the time, I think I know had changed. At the time, it was you can only put graded cards on there,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just starting to put put non-graded on there as I stepped away, and they were basically the middleman for trading cards. You would agree to a trade with somebody, then you would both send it to the Veriswap location. They would then verify and then send the cards off to the correct person. You can also they also had added in there like you could trade and add cash on top of it, kind of thing. Like, I'm gonna trade you this Julio Rodriguez for this Bo Bichette, and I got to send you cash with my Bo Bichette. So you know, that kind of thing. I did have one time a couple of times the way the cards were sent to me, how they were packaged. So sometimes it was great, sometimes it wasn't, and I don't know if they just took the packaging that the original person sent it in and just modified it a little bit, and sometimes they didn't. So sometimes getting a graded card in just a bubble mailer scares the hell out of me.
It really does.
That didn't happen all the time. So I don't know if it was just training people and maybe not an understanding, but this scenario right here.
So
no go.
Going to this. So here's what we got. Apparently it rubbed quite a few collectors the wrong way, which forced them to report it. All right. So basically, the Sports Card News gives you an idea of what the marketplace is. Now, recently there was a account holder in Veriswap who traded away an Anthony Edwards basketball, if you will, valued at $5,000. Okay. But received an empty USPS label. Now, Veriswap was supposed to ensure the shipments only had, they're supposed to verify the shipments. However, said shipment only had $100 on it. Now, on the Facebook page, Sports Card Scammer Tracker, dozens of collectors reported issues alike. A lot of people are saying that they received fake cards, damaged slabs, empty envelopes while using this platform. And an insider claimed that Veriswap's main authenticator has been banned from PSA and BGS for tracing player autographs. I wonder why. And then the Facebook group also banned the owner, Raymond Lee, for not addressing customer concerns. Now, as a CEO, if people are bashing your brand, which is basically your name, you're going to want to stick up for your name or figure out what is going on. Why are people throwing my name in dirt like this? What is it that I need to know? Okay. Veriswap's website claims partnerships with PSA, SCI, Market Movers, Burbank Sports Card, Gemray, and Ship My Cards. And it appears to be a dumpster fire over at Veriswap right now. So basically, the scammer tracker, they wrote that the admin team has made the decision to remove Raymond Lee due to his repeated inaction regarding issues related to Veriswap platform, including mistakes that have resulted in significant financial losses for members, blah, blah, blah. And basically it pissed off a lot of people, you know?
Rightfully
I
so.
mean, I can see them. Now, this is a response that they, I guess, Veriswap sent out. Thanks so much for your patience throughout the process. We thoroughly reviewed the entire situation regarding your trade and the claim, and we completely understand how disappointing. I hate it when you start off an email that way. Do you really understand what's going on? Although USPS only covered $100 under their insurance, Veriswap has decided to step in and cover the remaining value.
I hate the whole wording on this in the first place. That when you do trades with Veriswap, that's part of the thing is you're paying for the service. Is that insurance was supposed to be on there? $100 is just what UPS puts on anything that you ship out with a label. So somebody working there, it sounds like stole the card and then shipped an empty container, because something had to come to Veriswap. If it came to Veriswap empty, then they would then go say, hey, they would stop the trade, send the card back to the other card back to the original person.
Absolutely.
Like, this is just icky. And then, oh, we're gonna go ahead and get you your fight. Yeah, no shit. That's what we signed up for. Like, what do you like? You're doing me a favor. So, anyways.
And again, it goes back to common sense. If you are the face of a particular company, especially in a market as big as the hobby, you want to protect your name as if you're protecting your kids or your cherished possessions. Okay. For some men, it could be their gonads. For women, it could be something else. I mean, the fact of the matter is, at one point, Veriswap was actually growing at some degree. Okay. A lot of people were jumping on that train. They were enjoying the features. They were enjoying what Veriswap had to offer. They was even in the process of expanding. But now all it takes is one to mess it up for everybody else. Okay. Now Veriswap is on the same shit stain as eBay, because there's been scams on eBay, there's been scams on Facebook groups, Instagram, stop, you name it. Now Veriswap has just become a statistic.
It sucks too, because good company. I really liked it. I really liked everything that was going on, and I can totally understand a company that's growing having, like, you're gonna get some bad egg employees, like things like this are gonna happen, and just instead of, like, I don't understand going on sites and getting banned or banning people. Just be like, hey, we're investigating this. We have an employee we're investigating. We're so sorry this happened. Let me, you're 100% covered. We'll take care of it. And then you sound wonderful again. You're trying to take care of the problem, but it's so weird how some people are in this hobby are just so sketchy over things that could be fixed, like more understandable, I should say.
Agreed. I mean, people got the priorities all mixed up, and it doesn't really hit home until it affects them. So, but enough of that. Hopefully they channeled through this muddy little situation. So now PSA, they're having their ups and downs. We're on this nice little roller coaster, and we're having good strides, and we're having those rocky moments. This happened, in my opinion, this happens to be one of those rocky moments. Okay. They've updated their app with powerful research tools. So basically now they offered, it's very similar to what Market Movers has. The only difference is that Market Movers camera and research tool only does slabs. At least with PSA, you can do raw cards also, and it'll give you a breakdown. It'll give you the pop run. Everything that you could potentially look for, PSA has on this new app. Now, not to throw mud in their face, okay, but if you look at the comments, great, good tool. How about your turnaround times? Okay. It's all good, but let's start grading people's stuff. So they're in the right track, but not so much. I mean, I'm not gonna knock them. It's great.
Yeah.
But let's give the people what they want.
Nothing new with people harping on PSA about their turnaround times. I haven't graded with them in a little while. I'll grade with them again, but we were around during the 2020 days where, like, PSA shut down. It took months and months to get things back. I kind of expect it to take a while. As long as things are updating on their website, that's all I really care about. And I'm usually pretty patient about that. Now, that new upgrade, I am curious with the raw cards, is it how good it's going to do on, like, identifying different parallels and things of that nature. So I'm curious how accurate it's going to be, because that is a nice feature to have when you're looking stuff up, something to help you comp your cards or things of that nature.
I might put it to the test and just do a recording as a short, just to show everybody how it works.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious to know what it's like too. But
did you I might be way behind on this, so bear with me if I'm bringing up old news, but I was on
Mhm.
eBay the other day looking at like PSA graded cards, and I did like as I scrolled down, or there was something I can press and see the pop count. Is that way old news? Like, I haven't
That's
come
been
across that
around for about a couple of months.
couple of months. That was
Yeah,
really nice. I like
it is.
that feature. So
Now, the
throwing
latest
it out there.
thing that they have is if you're buying a raw card at $250 or more, you do have the option to send it off to PSA for a steal of a deal of $40 at the value plus tier.
I saw you guys talking about this on the podcast a couple weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I l- that's tough. That's
I'm
tough.
iffy about it.
I like the idea, the streamline of it, but you know how I am about sending stuff into PSA. Like, I gotta look that card over, and a
Yep.
picture is not gonna do it for me, and I'm not gonna trust anybody on any sellers. No disrespect to anybody. There's a lot of great people selling on eBay, but there's just as many not great people doing it. So, banned to the basement. I have used the new identification feature, and it worked on most every card I tried. Oh, cool. A brand new card is less likely to be in the database from what I'm seeing. Okay, well, that's fair. That makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you for
And,
sharing that.
and then Orlando was saying that eBay recently added PSA info. Yeah, like the pop count and all that stuff.
I dig that. I
Yeah.
dig that. Because you and I used to do that all the time. We'd go on PSA, like looking at pop counts of different things, and
Mm-hmm.
it was always fun to know because you had some sneaky A-Rods in there that were like pop ones, pop twos, and we had no idea. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of fun when you find out you've got a card that no matter what it is, when it's something that you like in your collection, when it's like a low pop
Especially
on a PSA
aged.
10. Yeah.
You know, if
Yeah.
you got something from the Junk Wax era and
Yeah.
it's like a pop 2 or a pop 1, like you said, you like,
Yeah.
I got
You
me a
kind of like
diamond in the rough.
yeah, 100%. 100%.
So
So, anyways, that's cool.
so we've got some more foolery going on with our mailing system, but this time it's not with USPS. Surprisingly, it's
Mhm.
actually with FedEx. So we got this tweet from at Nick_Raj13, and he wrote that they had a PSA order stolen by a FedEx driver. FedEx admitted to employee theft. Okay, Nick ran comps and value came out to right under $14,000. However, PSA is only willing to give them $8,000. Another part of the story was 10 cards were sold to an LCS that they still have those cards, but PSA will not take them off the stolen registry. They expect us to obviously resubmit. Who here thinks most, if not all of the cards, will get lower grades, especially the ones that they've damaged while grading? And then he wrote a direct letter to FedEx, and basically he told them what he wrote and so on and so forth. So, care to elaborate on that?
So we read this before we did the podcast tonight, and we're redoing it. I feel like there's pieces of that story that I'm missing or I have questions on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, did he get some of the cards back from the LCS, and that's why there's only the $8,000? Like, I don't that's I'm not understanding. Like, or does the LCS just keeping that doesn't make any sense to me? Like,
Well, the LCS is clearly going to keep them because if they just give them away, they basically gave away cards and money.
are they though gonna just keep like they just find they're stolen? They should have done due diligence before they bought them, maybe. But all I'm saying is it feels like there's pieces of that story missing.
Mm-hmm.
It just looking at for what it's worth, like if the cards were comped and he came up with $14,000, as long as that's accurate, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't just take care of that. But of course, it seems to me like there's little pieces that may be missing. But god dang, what is how many stories have we talked about with UPS and FedEx? These drivers stealing cards, man. I hope he did talk about suing FedEx in there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, please, and thank you. And I hope that gets handled
Yeah,
appropriately.
he gets taken care of to the fullest extent of the law. But now some questions that come to mind. Was this order going to PSA or was it on its way back? Okay. And I see my brother has showed up. If you move, you're a Mets fan. Yeah. We're going to move right along from that.
Okay.
So,
okay.
That's one question that I have. Has this order already been slabbed? Okay.
Yeah, that's
Because
another good question.
if it's raw, what are you using to get these accurate comps? For one. Number two, if that LCS still has the cards, okay, if they're raw, I can see why they won't do their due diligence and do some research behind it. Now, if they're slabbed, I would look them up on PSA's registry, and see, or do the T's cross and the I's dot.
You're right. I was assuming these were slabbed and sent back, but now I'm thinking about that story. It might have been on their way to Oh my God. People suck,
because
man.
Here's a question that maybe you can answer because I don't. At what point does PSA assume responsibility of an order?
That's a good question, because if these were on their way to PSA and PSA never even saw them, I don't feel like PSA is liable for any of it. It's all FedEx.
So then that tells me that if PSA is willing to give up $8,000,
that's cool.
They've been graded.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, I don't see PSA shelling out any money if they never saw the cards in the first place.
Because you know how PSA, they use their version of fair market value.
Yeah, yes, I know. You got to check them on that. You got to check them. I don't know what they're assuming. Maybe you're not going to look, or they're hoping you're not going to look.
Yeah.
But we've dealt with that. But now it's so many questions, because like, what is he talking about resub? I'm so confused. What was he talking about resubbing? If he didn't get any of the cards,
so basically
stolen ones, or
if I understand this correctly, there was 10 cards that were sold to an LCS. Okay, so he lost out on 10 cards any way you look at it, because a transaction was made with his property. That's a different argument. Now, how I read this, and somebody in the chat could have maybe have a different spin on it, but then he is saying that they expect us to obviously resubmit, I guess, because they were damaged. Let's just say maybe a cracked slab. If it was a Gem Min 10 and the slab itself is cracked, it kind of damages the card. So if you want to send that for a reholder, you're likely going to get a new grade.
I think my official statement is, I don't understand this story. I feel like I'm missing parts of it. Does anybody else when you scroll down, is there anybody that's commenting like with any kind of questions like I'm saying, or am I just is this going over my head?
Okay, so Ron is saying PSA value and real world value can be very different.
100%.
Wholly agree.
100%.
No, I don't care about that. But I mean,
drivers have always been stealing stuff. Yeah, drugs in the 80s.
They even taking the cauliflower, man.
They're probably stealing chickens. They're probably stealing chickens these days too.
But I mean, it's PSA. I give PSA credit. They try to right a wrong, but it needs a little more work.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, Ron made a good point. PSA, it's kind of okay. It's kind of like when you're doing a VA claim for disability. The VA uses this. Apparently, 1 + 1 = 9. Okay. They're using some kind of math that you take what you find consistently on a platform and even some major auctions, let's just say for the sake of argument, $1,000, give or take $10, left or right. PSA will be like, we got this at $450. How? Wait, what? How?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a good effort. However, they need to be a little more realistic and a little more flexible, because another question that comes to mind is, if he's valuing this at $14,000, this is not a bulk value submission.
Mm-hmm.
This has to be one of those 20-day or less type submissions.
Yeah, you're paying a good amount
I
per
mean,
card. Yeah. Or you got upcharge. Let's talk about some upcharges in there. Who knows?
yeah.
No.
Now, he did write in here that he did comp all the cards and did not inflate any numbers, allegedly. I'm not gonna say he did or he didn't, but there was one card without a sale, and it was a raw $2,500 sale, whereas the card that they had was actually slabbed and got a 10, and basically he just simply doubled the value of it.
Yeah,
which would make sense.
That's more than fair. If that's how he did it, the 8,000, 14,000. Now I'm wondering if grading fee. I just have so many questions, so many questions. But I hear what you're saying with what we got. There's a lot of avenues this could go down to where somebody's kind of missing the mark here.
And as I scroll a little further down, you got other people that's sharing their insights. Okay. So all about the hobby, he wrote, we had $60K in graded cards stolen by FedEx employee. You know, this, I keep seeing FedEx on a bad note. I'm going to start sending my stuff off Messenger Bird. But by a FedEx employee a few years back, which we had fully insured. After lawyers and claims, FedEx ended up paying us only $6K.
Oh, no. That's awful. That's ridiculous.
I mean, and then Sipiku, he wrote, it's not PSA's responsibility to give you any money. FedEx stole your package, so they are the liable ones. That is a valid point.
I can get on board with that.
But at the same time, and again, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess
Nestor is right there. Read that one next. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that was my other thing. The LCS has received stolen cards and has not turned them over. Like, to me, like, you can call the police and I feel like it's shown that it's stolen merchandise. Can't they collect that?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I got so many questions.
But I mean, it's like, again, and it goes back, and I'm trying to piggyback off this comment. So again, at what point through the entire grading process that PSA will assume responsibility of accepting that order? Now, at what point do they relinquish responsibility?
Yeah.
When it finally reaches its destination, or when it leaves the facility?
I would think once you've turned them over to FedEx, they're now in FedEx's responsibility. Thank you for putting that up with Alan. Like, I don't buy cards off eBay sitting in the vault just because they ship them FedEx. I didn't even know that.
You put yourself in a situation to get robbed from Pete. So, but yeah, I mean,
Dom is saying PSA is the shipper and retains responsibility until it's delivered.
That's a good point. You know what? I might just take when I have an expended amount of time, I'm gonna look up PSA's terms and conditions and see at what point do they let go and say, okay, it's out of our hands now. Whatever happens, we're done.
Yeah, because
I know curious to know.
Because when you do the thing with PSA, they make you get the insurance. You know, the paying it from PSA back to you. I don't know. I would think this is on FedEx.
I would think so too. But again, there is no.
Ooh, that's a good question that you just rolled up there too. Somebody asked, what was the declared value? Because that's another thing. Like, you could be comping all you want.
The package was insured for $14K.
That's good. But that's something to know if you do the whole PSA thing. If you don't declare that value, then that could be on you too. That was a good question, because if he had only declared 8,000, I could see that PSA doing that. But This is crazy. It's
Okay,
amazing.
so this person said, "Did you agree to this deal? I'd ask for 8K and some free grading vouchers." No,
Yeah,
no,
it's
you're
true.
not gonna.
I'm gonna go through and read some more because this guy is replying.
Yeah,
We are trying to make a deal for them to do 8,000 and reholder all the ones we have for free. Some of the slabs that were sold to the LGS were scratched up pretty badly, but if they keep them as stolen, then $8,000 isn't right.
it's
This is starting to sound shady to me.
yeah.
Like, is this guy in on this? Like, I seen one up there where he said the LCS is working with us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This is
It's too. Yeah,
there's too many holes in this for me to make like a full like direct answer because it's just weird.
and that's pretty cut and dry too, Dom. You know, if FedEx is saying, "Yup, we screwed this one up," they
Mm-hmm.
assume legal responsibility. But again, where does that put PSA? Are they recanting on their terms and conditions if it clearly states that they assume responsibility of said order up until it is received by the recipient? I gotta read the terms and conditions.
Yeah.
It's too many what ifs, or how about this and all this other craziness.
Yeah.
So what?
I feel like there's something fishy now. Like the LCS is trying to work with us. Like some of the
Yeah,
slabs were scratched up, and it's like if you're getting all this, they're trying to get all those cards for free. I feel like
yeah,
almost that might be a scenario. I could be
could
wrong.
be. I
Seems
don't
weird.
know.
Yeah.
All right, so Topps put out a tweet giving us a glimpse of what their 2025 spotlight trading cards look like. Me personally, I don't see any difference with the exception of a slight change in the backdrop. I mean, am I missing something?
I think they look like previous years. But it's a really good looking set. I'll tell you that. What was the first year that came out where the spotlights weren't
I think
they
it was
weren't rare.
23.
They
23 or
weren't
22.
Yeah, that first 22 or 23, they weren't rare. You can get those pretty easy. I know they're harder to get now. They are a nice looking card. So,
Yeah. So I would like to see somebody complete this set. That would be pretty cool.
oh, it says for the first time ever, it's a mix of veterans and prospects. It was only prospects before, yeah. So I guess
Yes.
that
So
Otani one's pretty cool.
for the first time ever, this collection includes a mix of prospects and veterans. Now the question is, what veterans are we going to be pulling out? Are we going to see a Hans Kraus?
Not going to see a Hans Kraus, for God's sakes. We've seen enough Hans Kraus.
I mean, it's bad enough that we are taking a massive hit with the retrofractors. They came out swinging when they first came up with the idea. Now we went from MLB and now we're back down to T-ball.
You're gonna make some people mad. Some Steve Carlton and Brooks Robinson fans are gonna be upset that you said that.
Change my mind. Anyway, so all right, so we're going to step away from the hobby just a little bit. We all know the World Baseball Classic is happening next year. Okay. I know maybe 95% of everybody in this chat is probably going to be going for Team USA. Okay. Not I. But
never.
What do y'all think about this lineup? This is the projected lineup for Team USA.
That's filthy. That's a good looking lineup there.
Yep, there's always one. Go Team Canada.
I was waiting for that.
Let me see. Who's it gonna be? Just Vladdy and Bo?
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, this
is Vladdy even gonna be on Team Canada?
Who knows?
No,
he'll probably be on Team DR.
Yeah, that's yeah. Because when I first looked at this list, I was like, why isn't who was playing first base? Bryce Harper, cool. I kind of think of Freddie Freeman before him, but I think Freddie Freeman's on the Canadian team, isn't he? He's He's Canadian, isn't he?
I believe he is Canadian.
So, and Canadian card breaker saying Bo is American, which that's right. I think he was born down in Florida. The whole being on the Toronto Blue Jays is throwing us off.
Now, are there names that you don't see on here that you would like to see on here for Team America?
Oh man, Kyle Tucker.
What do y'all think, chat? If there's a name that you would like to add in here for Team America, who would that be?
And it's a pretty solid looking list. Yeah, I almost second guess myself now. That like with who's could be on the American team. I guess if Bo's American, I wish Bo Bichette was there.
Okay.
Who they got shortstop here? Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah,
that's tough. He's killing it right now. So
he definitely is. Okay, that's a good name.
Cal Riley, yeah. Yep.
Cal has been having a monster season thus far. So, yeah, that's. And then their manager, Mark DeRosa. Wow,
dude.
Yeah.
Baseball Classic's fun. That'll be fun next summer.
All right, so here's another kind of a blast from the past. I don't see anything new with it. I mean, you guys tell me different.
2 packs now, right?
Well, besides the correlation, I'm talking about the design of the card. I don't see no difference.
No, they're good looking cards.
They are.
These are tough though. They're tough value wise. How much are they this year? Forgot that.
They are running about $240 a box.
Okay, I'm wondering. I feel like it was at that price last year. I know when these very first came out, 2021. They were like $150-ish, something like that. I remember picking these up and like because they're good looking. Dude, the depths of darkness insert that comes out of those, they are cool looking. Man, it's tough. Sometimes it's tough to hit the good autos in them.
It really is. Unless they've been pulled for you, when you just go ahead and get them at eBay.
Yeah, I got in a break of like a bunch of cases of that once, and I got a bunch of Lawrence Butler cards out of that are pretty sick looking. So, got to just find what works best for you.
There you go.
Yeah.
So this next segment is going to be for the old heads of the community. This week's top 10 valuable 1990 Donruss baseball cards. Okay, what's some good old junk wax, huh?
This was pretty cool, actually.
It really was.
Yeah.
So last week, Will Clark was number 1 on the hot list. Okay. Now, we're going to start at number 10. And number 10, we've got Juan Gon, number 33 rated rookie. Okay. Today, raw, you're looking at $1. But if the last 5 PSA 10 sales, the average was about $57. Okay. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? I feel like those are super tough to get good grades on. So
they really are.
Yeah.
And you got number 9, the Jose Canseco, number 125. Today's raw, $1. Last 5 gems, they sold on average for about $59 to $60. See, steroids still get some love.
Cool.
All right. Well, we got the kid. Another one, raw today. You get it for $1. The last 5 gems sold for $84. Notice the kid. I mean, he's going to command somewhat of a premium.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody loved him some kid.
Yep.
Okay. Then you got number 7, Nolan Ryan, number 166. Today, raw is about $2. The last 5 gems sold for just over $100.
That's cool.
7 no-hitters, 0 Cy Youngs. Sounds about right.
Insane.
Well, he must be from Texas. Anyway, All right, so number 6, we got the Nolan Ryan 5000 Ks era King of Kings back. Okay. And let me see. Today Raw is going for about $4, and the last 5 gems actually sold for about $107 on average. A lot of these have the stats on the back variations too. Yeah, they do. All right, so number 5.
This is one I remember the most.
Yeah, some of these dudes don't even look like what they do now.
Yeah, well, especially this one.
Yeah, so you got number 5, John Smoltz, BC12 MVP era card of Tom Glavine. Oh,
Yeah.
look, they morphed.
Yep.
So today's Raw is about $2, whereas if the last 5 gems actually sold for a little over $140. Okay,
Not bad. Not bad for
that's some sexy
1990.
looking Smoltzy.
Yeah.
Should have kept the beard off.
Yeah.
All right, so number 4, Bo Jackson, number 1 out of Diamond Kings. Today Raw, you're looking at $150. Last 5 gems sold for over $200.
That's insane. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you was to, I can only imagine how many of these cards I actually have if I really wanted to look for them.
Yeah.
Now, it's one thing to have them, it's another to actually have them and think you're going to send them and expect a gem.
Yeah.
None of mine would.
These are tough to gem.
Mine would. PSA would probably remix my label and say, not worth the plastic to put in. So
yeah.
But moving on to number 3, we got Nolan Ryan, number 665, King of Kings era, no number. All right, so this one, the number on the upper left corner is actually missing. Today's Raw, you're looking at $4, whereas the last 5 gems sold over $212.
Cool.
Number 2, I definitely know I have this one.
Yeah.
It's Ken Griffey, number 4 out of DK. Today Raw, you're looking at $2, whereas the last 5 gems, $242.
Nice.
And number 1, you got Juan Gonzalez, rated rookie era, reverse negative. Today Raw, you're looking at $4. As a 10,
$522.
we're looking at an average of $522.
I know I've got that card. I've got a couple of those, but I know it's no PSA 10. But still, I don't know. There was something about having a reverse negative back in the day that was just so cool. They would charge you.
Yeah, what do you mean by they would charge me there, Alan? Please elaborate.
All 3 of mine are off center. Yeah, as with most. And I just feel like the edges on those cards were just
$89.
Oh, I mean,
yeah. I mean, anything older than 2000, it's almost impossible to gem.
Yeah.
It's just my opinion on it, though.
Yeah.
All right, so some positivity in the hobby. You know, we all like smiles. We're all happy. We love the hobby.
We love it when people complete things that they're working on collecting. Here we go.
You know, they set out a goal and they finish it. They lack consistency, but at least they completed it.
You know, sometimes when you're chasing them, it's hard to. You're probably looking for the good price on it because those are pricey cards right there.
They are, but what I do like though is not all of them are gems. I did see that PSA 7.
Yeah, I saw a 9 or 2 in there too.
Yep, there goes a 9.
9, yep.
So glad to see that they actually completed the 24 Bowman anime. So
I guess I didn't realize that they're all graded. I guess they didn't buy any raw, or I don't know if they sent any in there themselves.
They probably did send some raw.
Yeah.
I mean, I would doubt they did not.
Yeah.
But
that was a cool set.
Yeah. You know. But other than that, are we missing anything that you want to bring up before we get into the final segment of we're going to get into the educational aspect of the podcast? Is there anything that you wanted to bring up, touch on?
I don't think so. I think we're covering all our topics well, and let's keep
Right. So
on rolling.
the last part of this segment is, and again, what we look to bring to everybody is not to insult your intelligence, is not to say we're smart, you're dumb. Okay, remember, this guy did 2 tours in the 4th grade. Okay, so I'm right there with y'all. This is just stuff that I search on the internet, and I try to put 2 and 2 together, and hopefully what I come up with, somebody who is getting into the hobby will at least have a foundation as to where to go to, get their pricing for their products, how to navigate through card shows, where to buy their cards at and maximize on the money that they're spending. And that's all it really is. But for this week, we're looking at, how do we go about pricing out cards that either have no history on it or you just can't find anything. All right. So basically, comparable sales estimate the market value, give or take, because it all depends on what you consider the sourced market value. All right. Everybody has their own interpretation about it. And I've already got my first critic. Yep. It's always one, but that's all right, though. But basically, comps are going to be used as the foundation or baseline for negotiations of transactions or, setting prices at auctions. And again, for grading investment decisions, that's where comps actually come into play. Now, what happens if you don't find no data on it? Couple of reasons. Obviously, new product fresh on the market. And you've got those rare low serial number cards. And now what I mean by low serial, anything 25 out of 25 or less. Because 99, pretty common. Out of 50, not as common, but not as rare. It's like borderline. Okay. But anything, all your oranges, all your reds and everything like that, you just don't really find them out there. Then you have your prospects with unknown value. Okay, you've got somebody who fits the criteria of said influencer who spreads a rumor and people take that and run with it. You do your own due diligence on that particular player that everybody's talking about. If he's not your cup of tea, okay, moving right along. Find that person that you do want to collect or you've been watching or whatever the case may be. Then you've got your international or niche sets. I do know, like Magnus, he is hell-bent on collecting Japanese cards. Okay. Those that is an acquired taste. It's not going to fit everybody's collecting habits. There's a certain market for it. All right, so you got your direct analog approach, which basically you do the match set, you do the player, you do the parallel color. What that means, you take a green foil 2023 Julio Rodriguez out of $4.99 from 2023. Compare that to 2024. I'm not going to use the rookie season because that was going to command a higher premium. So you take 23, you take 24. Compare it to 23, and you can either match it or you can take an average of it, whatever you choose. Then you got your comparable player model, the stats. You take one hot player and try to find a player that closely matches him stat-wise. And as of right now, that is a very painful process because everybody is so uniquely different.
That could be tough from team to team too, because I feel like sometimes the younger like prospect, like good guys on the Yankees get a higher premium than some really good player that ends up on the Colorado Rockies. So
now I think you can do that with accolades. So I would think to a certain degree you can probably put Judge and Ohtani in the same comping ballpark. Okay, not to the T, but close to it, because Ohtani, he did the 50-50 thing, won an MVP. Then you got Judge, had a stellar year, batted his OPS was 12 something, batting average was mid threes, 58 home runs, all that other crazy stuff. Both made it to the World Series. Okay, so you take stuff like that. But then, I mean, nowadays, as far as like batting average or WAR, that's just too much. It hurts my head just thinking about it. All right, but then you go through your parallel laddering technique. You can use known comps of similar numbered cards. And again, I threw in the out of 50 and out of 99 simply because they're still double digit, but I would tend to find anything 25 or less to be more of that unicorn type of comparing for pricing. Some examples, you take a Bowman Chrome first auto 99 versus the prior year. You know, if one actually exists. If it's there, if they don't have anything prior to their Bowman first, which usually they don't, then you're gonna have to come up with another method to try to come up with a fair market value. Okay, then you do your Topps Chrome red to 5 versus your orange to 25. You know, sometimes depending on the set, they come relatively close, but then you got other sets where they're just literally numbers apart. Like I do know for I forgot which set it came out of, but maybe you would remember. It's a rainbow that I got of Julio Rodriguez. You did a video on it where I sent you the out of 10. Oh, the Sapphire Diamond
selections. Sapphire
selection.
Yeah.
I was doing when I was adding that stuff into my card ladder account, I noticed that the out of 50, it had a higher estimated value than the out of 10. And that
gold, people love the gold parallel, man. It's like
really
one of the most popular. So
it's just crazy.
It is crazy because that 10, that black sapphire is just so freaking cool looking and so much harder to find. Like, yeah.
Then you have your PSA 9 Mojos out of Bowman versus your raw Chrome. I don't see how you would compare the two. Maybe I'm missing something. I mean, a lot of people have mentioned, you know, PSA 9 prices can equate the raw pricing or vice versa.
That last line is confusing. Is it supposed to say auto at the end there? Or were you talking about PSA 9?
Bowman Mojo versus a raw Chrome auto.
Okay.
So,
is the Bowman Mojo an auto also?
No.
Or?
I probably meant to put auto there, but even that, it would depend on the player too.
Yeah.
All right. You can use a pop report. Lower population equates to higher premium. You know, pretty cut and dry. Then you got all these resources that you can check. And there's some others that you can check also. You know, all these new grading companies. TAG has a pop report, HGA. But for flipping and investment purposes, obviously we know these are going to be the big 3, 4 if you include CGC. You know, auction houses, you got Golden, PWCC, all provide higher end comps. Understand premium versus eBay markets. Everybody reverts to eBay because that is like the juggernaut of the market, of what we assume is the market. I mean, to me, that's just a starting point, because what normally happens when you look at sold comps and you see somebody accept the best offer, your next step is you're going to 130 point.
Yeah.
So why not just use 130 point, scratch out that extra step of going to eBay and just go there? I don't know.
eBay is easier. I feel like easier to just do a quick check, but yeah, then I'll go over, usually copy and paste over to 130 point if I want more accurate information. This little comping cards thing is really tricky, and I feel really bad when new people are coming into it, and I see it in some forums, and people just rip people apart. It's awful. Like, this takes time and practice and experience to kind of get a feel for it. And like sometimes a new card will come out and there isn't comps for it yet, and it's hard to compare. And I feel like if you're trying to sell it, you gotta be bold and like do the eBay auction for 7 days or whatever. And you guys, if it's something you think is valuable, you gotta start at the 99 cents. That makes people nervous. They don't understand, but that's kind of a logarithm on eBay that gets the views and the bids, and
Yeah.
then you just hope and pray that you've got an actual buyer and not somebody that's like shill bidding or just trying to, bring up the price of the card and then not pay for it, because that does suck when that happens. But it's rough. Like, I don't know. We've got I feel like a lot of people in in the chat right now are kind of seasoned, but I don't know if there's anybody here that's like got questions about comping stuff, and what are you thinking, or what's your most difficult thing? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
What you notice in your video, you get people all the time that will be like, they'll comment in a video and they're like, "Oh, I just pulled this. What do you think the value?" That's the biggest thing. People have it's tough between comping cards and sending things to get graded. Those are like two things that people that are getting into the hobby are afraid of.
What I am seeing, though, to caveat on that is, if you're into the investing or flipping side of the hobby, you look for ways to maximize on your premium. What have you noticed lately? Oh, I'm jacking up the price because it's serial numbered to the player's jersey. The border matches his socks. This number is the score that I got on my SAT. I mean, people look for little reasons to maximize.
Jersey number. You were talking earlier, but the 99 green, a lot of times people don't like the green parallel, but if it's like an Oakland A's player, green parallels get a premium because the whole color match thing going on. It's tough.
Yeah, people look, I mean, again, I'm not knocking how you go about making your money, but some of these little techniques and tactics that a lot of these people are using, you're reaching.
Mm-hmm.
I can see jersey number. I got that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can see, the first print off the assembly line out of a run of 5 or a run of 10, maybe a 25. I got that. Color border, you're stretching it.
Are you don't you like a good color match? Like, I like a good color match, like the green match for the A's, I get, or there's that Jackson Merrill rookie card where the aqua parallel where it really matches the City Connect. Like, I can see somebody paying a little bit more because it just looks so damn cool. But I mean, I hear what you're saying, but there's like so many caveats to all of this.
It really is
tough. Yeah.
What about those parallels, like the golds out of flagship to 2024, 2025? If I remember correctly, somebody pulled a 1776 out of a 2022, and they wanted an unrealistic amount because of it. And I think it was a gold, but still,
isn't it Independence Day? So you
actually,
got
you're right, number 17 of 76.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
So raw.
Yeah. What makes me laugh is when
people
sell raw high-end cards as much for a graded PSA 10. You see, realistically, if I was going to sell something, okay, and if it's, for example, if I sold this Paul Skeens Redemption, the highest I would go is a 9. Because who am I to say that's a 10? Because I mean, lately with how PSA is doing their grading, I may say it's a 9. I send it over to them. Guess what? It's a 5.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's crazy.
It is.
So here's what we use as far as a confidence score when you're pricing these cards out: exact set and player match. you're
Mhm.
likely going to be on point with your comp. The parallel match, it's medium.
Mhm.
Player comp only, okay, not the most effective method, but depending on who it is and what it is, you might pull off a miracle. Set your risk adjustment. You do your own math on it, and if the numbers make sense to you, then go with it. Do not be discouraged or upset or anything if that potential buyer rebuts your offer, your price, and provides you references supporting his rebuttal. So just
Mhm.
keep that in mind. Nowadays, raw cards do sell slightly more than 9 on high end unless there's obvious flaws. Well, yeah,
Mhm.
I agree with that.
That's true.
Like if
Yeah.
you sold, if I was trying to sell a Topps Dynasty auto, let's just say Mike Trout. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm gonna try to maximize as much as I can because of the name
Mhm.
and the product that is coming out of. All right, some final takeaways. Always gather at least 3 supporting comps. Don't just go off the last one.
Mhm.
Okay. You go with an odd number. And I say odd because you could do 3, you could do 5. I like to do 5. You add them
Mhm.
all up and then just divide them all by how many numbers that of the sales that you got. That should be your sticking point, give or take a dollar or two, or depending on how big of a car we're talking. Okay. You can adjust the pricing either way for the scarcity and the condition, kind of like what Adam said.
Mhm.
Okay. Use comps to control the buying and selling power.
Mhm.
Does that happen often? Probably not.
Mhm.
Okay. Because as long as you go to a card show and you find Grandpa Bob with that Beckett book, your comps don't mean nothing to him.
Mhm.
And then lastly, you want to monitor the market swings every 2 to 3 weeks. What you use to monitor said market, that is completely up to you as that collector. Some will go off of eBay sales, some will use market movers. There's an abundance of references that you can use to give you an idea of where your particular card of that particular player is sitting at price wise. Okay. So you take all that information and you make your own assessments when you're going to be going to a show to get rid of some inventory or you're looking to buy some stuff, because you do have buyers out there that try to pull some shadiness and try to maximize. Can't take it
Mhm.
away from them, but it happens. But
Yeah.
that's pretty much all I have. Is there anything you wanted to add to, Adrian?
That the last bit there, that monitor market swings for for baseball too. Like sometimes that can change game to game too, just depending on what kind of a game somebody has. Like Tyler Soderstrom for the A's, like
Mm-hmm.
killing it with the home runs and stuff like that. And his stuff, is starting to crawl up and different things like that. So I mean, if you're paying attention to baseball, maybe you're just collecting, you're not really paying attention to games, but they do have an effect. Like somebody throws a no hitter, all of a sudden their card prices shoot up too, or their stuff sells out real quick on eBay. I saw that a lot.
It's kind of like that kid that
So
had the 4 home runs in one game.
yeah, yeah, and Henio Suarez, yeah,
Eugenio
yeah,
Suarez. Yep.
yeah. I'm sure his stuff is people are digging out his rookie card right now
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
he
So
maxed out for that
that's
good
cool.
half hour.
That's cool. He's doing good right now. His like he had that great game, but he's been hitting really well. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Selling in the off season, cards drop 100%. Clinton,
Yep.
that's 100% true.
So that's pretty much everything that we have. And look at that. We didn't even use the entire 2 hours.
Oh man.
I felt like it was, but once you get into the groove of things,
Yeah.
especially with some OGs, time
Yeah.
flies when you
Oh
look
yeah.
up and you're like, man,
Yeah, just like that.
yep. But yeah, just to go back for those of you who were not in the chat earlier, We are gonna be taking the podcast back to the good old days where it's gonna be twice a week. The meat and potatoes is gonna be over on Adrian's channel, which is gonna be on Sunday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. And if I'm not mistaken, we're gonna be running that for your standard 60 minutes, give or take, depending on what's cooking for that day. And then on Monday, we're going to jump on over here, and it's no longer called the After Hours Show because that sounded too explicit from my virgin ears. We're going to go with Extra Innings.
It used to make sense. It used to make sense. We used to have the podcast, and then we would switch over to your channel, and we do an hour on the podcast, an hour on yours. So,
yeah.
And it's going to be, it's just different days now. We got Sunday night podcasts, Monday night Extra Innings.
There we go. So it kind of works out. But if y'all have not gone to Adrian's channel and you're not subscribed, come up from under that rock, okay? For a few reasons. One, this podcast would not have happened initially if she would have not blew up my phone talking about let's do a podcast. Okay, still trying to figure out how I got selected for it, but that's a story for a different day. But this podcast has been going on now strong for almost 2 years. Okay, now Adrian did take a little time off because she's had some things that took precedence over this, and it's completely understandable, and we do appreciate everybody who stood out and hung out with us while I was struggling to drag it along. You know, we was running on E, but somehow we made it through to the point where Adrian is back. We're going to get back into the groove of things just like the way it was before. And again, appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Any last words of from the OG there?
Thanks for having me on. Thank you for all you did while I took my time off. You had my back the whole time, and you continuing to do this show on here. I really appreciate you, Mr. Enfuego. You're an awesome friend, and I'm really excited to be back doing the podcast with you, doing all this. And thank you to all that are in the chat and all that supported me while I was gone. A lot of you guys sent me stuff, sent me messages, things like that. Really appreciate it. So pumped to bring the podcast back.
Yep.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Dom, Cardaholic, Mark C, Ford fan.
Whatever, Dom.
This are still.
All right, everybody. So we will be catching you this upcoming Sunday at 8 Eastern. All right. So with that, we'll see you throughout the week. Have a good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.